So you're building a web page and you need to talk to your user, like right now. How do you do it? Well, today we're going to break down 3 of the OG tools in JavaScript for exactly that: alert, prompt, and confirm. Let's dive in and see how they tick. You ever wanted your web page to just have a conversation? To shout out something important, or ask a direct question, or maybe grab a quick piece of info from someone. That's exactly what these 3 little functions are all about. They're kind of the original, built-in way to make your page feel alive and interactive. All right, first up, we've got the simplest of the bunch, alert. I like to think of it as the announcer. It's like your page's personal town crier. It's all about one-way communication. Your page talking at the user, making sure they get the message. So how does it work? Well, it just pops up a message and bam, it slams the brakes on everything else happening on the page. Seriously, nothing else moves, nothing else runs until that user clicks OK. It's super direct and it absolutely positively demands their full attention. And would you look at how simple the code is? It's just one line, alert hello, and boom, you've got a pop-up box with your message. That's it. No fancy stuff, no frills, just a straight to the point announcement. Now, this whole stop everything behavior actually has a name. It's called unloadable window. And this is a really key concept to get because it means the user is basically locked out of your website. They can't click other buttons, they can't scroll, they have to deal with that little pop-up window before they can do anything else. Okay, so alert is great for shouting messages, but what if we want to make this a two-way street? What if we want to get some info back? Well, that's where prompt comes in. If alert is our announcer, then prompt is the interviewer. It doesn't just talk, it actually listens. It asks a question and then waits for a response. So its whole job is to show a message, but this time there's a crucial difference. It gives the user an input field to type into. This is your go-to for grabbing information directly from your visitors, like their name, their favorite color, or their age. Let's look at the syntax. The prompt function can take 2 pieces of information, or parameters. The first one, the title, is the question you want to ask. That part's required. But the second part, the default value, is totally optional. It's just some pre-filled text that shows up in the input box to give the user a hint. Okay, let's look at a real example. With this line of code, the user will see a box that says, "How old are you?" And the number 100 is already sitting there in the text field. Now, whatever they type in and hit OK with gets saved into our age variable. And what happens if they just hit cancel? Well, in that case, the variable gets a special value, null, which basically means nothing or no value. All right, here's a little pro tip for you, kind of a fun piece of web history. Remember how I said that second value, the default, is optional? Well, back in the day, if you were dealing with old browsers like Internet Explorer, you always wanted to provide one, even if it was just an empty string. If you didn't, IE would show the word undefined in the box, which just looked broken and confused everybody. A good little thing to know. And that brings us to our third and final tool. We've had the announcer, alert, the interviewer, prompt, and now we have the decision maker. This is confirm. Its job isn't to get text, it's just to get a simple yes or no answer. So confirm pops up a question, but instead of a text box, it gives the user 2 buttons, OK and cancel. That's it. This is the perfect tool for when you just need the user to make a clear choice. One that's either, yep, let's do it, or nope, never mind. And the syntax, it's so simple. You just give it one thing, the question you want to ask. The browser takes care of the rest, creating those OK and cancel buttons for you automatically. Super easy. So when this code runs, a little box pops up and asks, "Are you the boss?" Pretty straightforward. If the user clicks OK, then our isBoss variable gets the value true. If they click cancel, or even just hit the escape key, that variable becomes false. Simple as that. And that right there is the fundamental difference between these two. Prompt gives you back whatever the user typed, a string of text, or it gives you null if they bailed. But confirm, it only ever gives you back a Boolean, just a straight up true or false. Knowing that is really the key to deciding which one to use for your situation. Okay, so let's pull it all together. These tools are awesome, right? They're super powerful, mainly because they're just so darn easy to use. But there's always a but, isn't there? That simplicity, it comes at a cost. So let's do a super quick review. We have alert, which is just for showing a message. It doesn't give you anything back. Then there's prompt, which asks for text input, and it gives you back that text as a string or null. And finally, confirm, which asks a yes or no question and gives you back a Boolean, true or false. And remember, what's the one thing they all have in common? They are all modal. That's the keyword of the day. They stop your script dead in its tracks. No other code runs, the user can't do anything else on the page until they deal with that little box. So what's that price I was talking about? What's the trade-off for all this simplicity? Well, there are two big ones. First, you have zero control over where the box appears on the screen. The browser just plops it down, usually right in the middle. And second, and this is a huge one for anyone who cares about design, you can't style it at all. The look and feel, the colors, the fonts, it's all controlled by the user's browser, not you. And that leaves us with a really interesting design question, doesn't it? These little boxes, they're fast, they're super reliable, they work on literally every browser ever made. But let's be honest, they can also look pretty dated and totally clash with a beautifully designed website. So the question I'll leave you with is this. When is that raw, simple functionality more important than a polished, custom-designed user experience? It's a trade-off we all have to make, something to think about for sure.